go with the Tequila Patron middleweight tail of the tape. Chris Chapman, 10-2-1 with 5 knockouts, weighing 159 pounds, standing at 5 feet 8 inches from Jersey City, New Jersey. His opponent, Thomas the Soldier FALOWO, 10-1 with 7 knockouts, weighing 159.5 pounds, standing at 6 feet 1 inch from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. The official ring introductions now with ring announcer Bill Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Patron Tequila and Pinnacle Vodka bout. And this is also our special attraction co-feature bout of the evening, 8 rounds of boxing in the middleweight division. Your referee for tonight's co-feature is Eddie Claudio. Introducing the red corner first, he's wearing the black and red trunks. His official weight, 159 pounds. His professional record shows 10 wins with only 2 losses, 5 of those 10 wins coming by way of knockout. Coming to us tonight from Jersey City, New Jersey, please welcome Chris Last Chapter Chatman. Across the ring to my left, fighting out of the blue corner, he's wearing the black trunks trimmed in white. He tipped the scales at 159.5 pounds. His professional record is impressive. 10 wins, just 1 loss, with 7 big wins coming by way of knockout, representing his hometown of Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and fighting out of Manfredo's Boxing and Fitness in Narragansett, Rhode Island, introducing Thomas the Soldier FALOWO.
Ready for tonight's co-feature, and what a fight this promises to be. Thomas the Soldier FALOWO riding a 4-fight win streak, all 4 wins coming here at the Twin River Event Center, 3 of those by knockout, facing by far his toughest test to date, Chris Last Chapter Chatman, 10-2-1 with 5 knockouts. Fighter from Jersey City, New Jersey, from Chicago, Illinois. We've seen Chapman here twice at the Twin River Event Center. He lost to Demetrius Andre a few years ago in a 6-round bout. Both the fighters were undefeated at the time, then came back here a year later and defeated Raman Yusubov, same fighter Thomas FALOWO defeated. Both of them won by knockout. So a very, very evenly matched fight here between Chris Chapman and Thomas FALOWO. My name is Pat Sullivan, my broadcast partner tonight, Mike Parenti, brought to you by Jimmy Birchfield's Classic Entertainment and Sports. I now bring in tonight's matchmaker, Mike Parenti, for his initial thoughts here on Chapman and FALOWO.
Well, I've been waiting for this one since we announced it, Pat. Chris Chapman always comes to fight one of the stronger 154-pounders you'll see, and of course Thomas FALOWO, that high output of punches, always constantly busy in the ring, and that's really been the key to his success thus far. He does have the height advantage, and he almost gets him against the ropes there, Pat. You see that long reach already paying off for FALOWO.
The records of Thomas's last 4 opponents that he's beat, 28-17. So Thomas certainly has been fighting tough competition, and Last Chapter Chapman certainly fits into that category. Halfway through round number 1. At yesterday's weigh-in, Chris Chapman got up on the microphone, said how excited he was for this fight. When you have 2 hard-working fighters that won't quit, it makes for an electrifying fight. And that's what Chapman promised. FALOWO agreed, and both fighters plan on delivering here. Already this first round pretty exciting. A minute to go here in round number 1. Worth noting, this is Thomas FALOWO's very first 8-round fight. Chris Chapman has gone 8 rounds twice. He actually had a 10-round fight, but he was knocked out before the 10th round by 16-0 Jamel Charlo. That was last March. That was his last fight, so it's a pretty good inactivity there for Chris Chapman. Well over a year since his last boxing fight. 30 seconds to go in round number 1. Mike, you compare Thomas Fallowo never fighting an 8-rounder, only fighting 4s and 6s in his career, against Chris Chapman, who has fought 2 8-rounders but hasn't fought in well over a year, almost a year and a half. So you're going to think that maybe that stamina that Chapman has in 8 rounds isn't going to be that big of a difference since Thomas hasn't fought an 8-rounder yet.
No, and the one thing too, Pat, these guys spar 10, 12 rounds at a time. A guy like Thomas Fallowo, working with Peter Manfredo, will spar plenty of rounds. So I don't think the stamina will be a huge factor, but we'll see if it gets to that point.
Let's take a trip into Chris Chapman's corner and listen to the instructions.
Post-road service center. Be sure to stop by at 6541 Post Road in Northeast Iowa. Or check them out online at postroadservicecenter.com. That's Post-Road Service Center, 6541 Post Road in Northeast Iowa.
It's like you got blood on you.
No, he got a little bit right here.
I'm bleeding.
Just a little tiny cut. It's okay. It's okay.
Faggot.
Tiny miniature cut.
All right.
Tiny miniature. Sean, put a little more Vaseline on the rest of his face right there. It's gonna stop. Don't worry.
Good round, please. Great. Yeah, next time.
Ready for round number 2. Scheduled 8-round fight. Plenty of boxing to go. You heard in between rounds Chris Chapman's corner telling me he had a little cut. And Chapman certainly not happy to hear that he had already had blood drawn from him by the soldier Fallowo. One thing that really excited me about this fight, Mike, is I've never seen a fighter with a meaner face walking to the ring as Thomas Fallowo. And I always thought to myself, that has to completely just demoralize an opponent when you see Thomas walking with that evil scowl walking to the ring. You're already beaten. But Chris Chapman is the only fighter I've ever seen that can match that look, and he did it when he sprinted to the ring tonight.
Right, he has almost as mean a scowl, as heavy a brow as Thomas Fallowo does. These two definitely thrive off intimidation. Thomas does it with the look, he does it with the height and the high volume of punches. And if anything, Chapman does it with the physique. I mean, you've never seen a 154-pounder who looks as big as he does. He looks like he's 200 pounds.
Now you see Thomas trying to really pile on the punches, the crowd on their feet for the Pawtucket native. Chapman reverses fortune. Now he's landed a few punches with Thomas is back up against the ropes.
It's the back and forth action we expected, Pat.
Mike, in one of your earlier press releases when this fight was first announced, Chapman said he wants to be in control of this entire fight, and he's going to overwhelm Thomas Fallowo. Right now, Thomas is doing a pretty good job controlling the pace of this fight. Chapman's answering blow for blow here, but Thomas really seems to be controlling at least the first round and a half.
No, it's been a great start for Fallowo. He drew blood from Chris Chapman with the cut. That can be a big equalizer, Pat, early on in an 8-round fight. And this is what Fallowo needs. He's had some easier fights when he first started out. Now he's stepping into the 8-round fights. He's stepping into the fire, and no better opponent than a guy like Chris Chapman.
And not only, Mike, did he draw blood on Chapman, but he drew it in the first round, and now you can see the cuts opening up even more. That means if this fight's going to go the distance, he's going to have to fight 6 rounds, each time going back to the corner, having someone work on his head instead of giving him more instructions on how to continue the next round. So that certainly has to play into a fighter's psyche.
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him to be able to rest. He's going to be working on that cut the entire time, like you said. But I'll tell you what, Pat, at this pace, it may not go 8 rounds. These guys are coming out throwing bombs right now.
Thomas, 10-1 in his career. His lone loss coming last year to Samuel Clarkson, a split decision. At the time, Clarkson was 4-0. Now he's 7-2. Controversial decision, one that Thomas certainly thought he won. Many ringside reporters and fans thought he won. Thomas has been on quite a streak since then, 4-0. Now looking to continue, but he has a huge task in front of him. Chris Chapman is not backing down. I have never seen a fighter go toe-to-toe with Thomas like this and be willing to swing. We're going to listen right now to Peter Manfredo Sr., his trainer, on his thoughts in the first 2 rounds.
But everything comes from behind the jab. You can't just kind of leave shots and try to go to the body. Set it up. Elevate. Hit him in the fucking chest. That's what we were talking about, the jab. Straight, great down.
Pat, you hear Peter Manfredo Sr. saying you had him hurt, you let him off the hook, and telling Thomas FALOWO to keep establishing the jab instead of just trying to exchange with Chris Chapman in the middle of the ring. I think when sometimes the fighter's getting such opposition like this, he may tend to try to do the same thing and duplicate it and maybe get caught up in the adrenaline rush.
Round 3 of a scheduled 8. Chris, last chapter, Chapman, Thomas, the Soldier, FALOWO, both fighters, actually more than anything, seem to have more mutual respect for each other. Neither one actually came in here saying, I'm going to win this fight, or I'm definitely going to go in there and outpower him. It was more or less, this is going to be a great fight. Fans are going to love this. It was almost as if these fighters knew they were taking a tough fight, but they were doing it because the fans would really enjoy a high pace, high action, high volume punch fight like this.
Chris Chapman's pretty well known in the regional circuit, and Thomas FALOWO is starting to get there as well, Pat. So anytime you mention those names to anybody in matchmaking, they know exactly who you're talking about. And like you said, there is that mutual respect. These two are throwing bombs here in this 3rd round. I would be shocked if they can keep up this pace for 8. You got to figure someone's going to get stopped at some point. But right now, it's great action.
Chapman, when he fought here a few years ago against Demetrius Andrade, who at that point, Demetrius was really just starting out. He was 7-0 at the time, and now, of course, we know he's fighting for a world title in a month. But when Chapman fought here against Demetrius, many fans thought that he did better on the scorecards than they had it, and some fans thought he won. And they were actually chanting for Chapman after the fight, really appreciative how he came in from San Diego to fight Demetrius and put up such a great effort. And I'm sure regardless of the outcome, the fans are going to give him the same respect. And that's one thing that's really special about Rhode Island and what CES brings to the sport, is the fans are really respectful of the fighters, win or lose, whether it's the fighter they love or the fighter that they despise because they're fighting the fighter they love.
These are fight fans, Pat. They're not just fans of one particular fighter. So if you give them great matches and great action like that, they will absolutely show the respect that's deserved. Chris Chapman's come here before and earned that respect. Caught Thomas on that one, Pat. Had him backpedaling a bit. It's been very back and forth. Each fighter has seemed to have hurt the other at a certain point.
Remember, a few fights ago, Thomas had a little swelling under his eye. When I say a little, it looked like it could have been a bag under his eye more than a swelling. And he came up here and he was so excited thinking that he got his first black eye and his first swollen eye. He won the fight 40-36 in the scorecard. He was just excited to actually get hit. Well, if he was excited then, imagine how he's feeling right now, because him and Chapman are going toe-to-toe and loving it.
I think when you get hit by Chapman, the excitement of that wears off. The novelty wears off pretty quickly. But you're right. Thomas wanted to challenge himself, and he's done that gradually. And right now, tonight, it's going to be the biggest challenge of his career. And it's lived up to all the billing thus far through 3 rounds.
And, Mike, this is really the difference between a 6-round and an 8-round fight. In a 6-round fight, you can get by fighting a guy who's a few fights over 500. When you step up to 8s, this is big territory. This is where you have to fight a guy like Chris Chapman, who's 10-2-1. End of round number 3. We're going to head into the corner of Chris Chapman and see how they view the first 3 rounds and the status here in Chapman's fight.
Cannot walk him down.
Good round, good round. That was a definitely one for you in the bank. See what happens when you go straight left? Come back, how you feel? How you feel? Good. Come back with the hooks, Chris. Come back with the hooks, Chris.
Is available right
Come back
at
with the hooks,
Post
Chris.
Road Service Center.
Come back with the hooks, Chris. Come back with the hooks, Mr. Chapman. Hey, you got the cut on the head. That's what is in your head, buddy.
65-41 Post Road, North Kingstown, Rhode Island.
Like you're throwing that, man. Right? Just throw the hooks and come back with the left. You throw the left and come back with the hook, right? Hey, body, left, hook. Hook, left, body. Uppercuts is working as well. 1-2s. Okay, I don't want to confuse you and say too much. But what I'm trying to say is basically put combination together.
Hook behind everything,
Straight
spin
left.
out.
You're hurting with the straight left. You're hurting with the straight left.
You hear Chapman's corner telling him to throw more combinations, not just those straight lefts and straight rights. I think these two are getting so absorbed in throwing power shots that sometimes the fundamentals may be lacking. It's great for excitement, it's great theater, but the fundamentals aren't always there in some of these early rounds.
And that could be the difference in a fight like this, where both fighters are throwing such high volume and high power punches. It could be the one who connects on the 1-2s or the double jabs, or connects with a jab and hook. It might be the guy who can connect on those that could win this fight. But I like how simple his corner made it. He was throwing out all these combinations, this punch, that punch. He said, I'm going to make it simple. Just work any combinations.
That's it. It's a very simple sport. It's not always easy when you're in there, but I'll tell you what, the instruction part certainly is much easier said than done. give Chapman a lot of credit too, Pat. He's at a 4 or 5 inch disadvantage against FALOWO, but still managing to get inside despite that long reach by Thomas.
Chris Chapman's last win, Mike, was actually here in October of 2011 against 8-4 Raman Yusubov. He knocked him out in the 5th round, and then of course Thomas went on to knock him out a year later. But that shows you the inactivity that Chapman's had to face. But I tell you what, through the first 3.5 rounds, I don't see much ring rust.
Not at all. You know, he's had some fights canceled. He was preparing for a fight actually earlier this year, and that got pulled at the last minute. So he's always active, always in the gym. And that's why on 2 weeks' notice he was able to take this fight and actually take it at the scheduled weight. No catch weight involved. They came in right at 160. In fact, both fighters were a pound and a half a pound, respectively, underweight yesterday at the weigh-in. So it's a credit to the conditioning on both camps.
Certainly a fight date that Chris Chapman will never forget. Today's actually his birthday, and as I say that, he gets knocked down to the canvas.
It
Trying
like
to tell the ref that it was.
Up. Yeah.
He's trying to explain that to the ref, but Eddie Claudio's not having it. And we're going to continue here with a minute to go in the round, Mike.
It's very interesting. I don't think Chapman was hurt at all. I think their feet did get tangled, and FALOWO caught him on the way down, and now Chapman drops FALOWO.
And you see the frustration in Thomas FALOWO punching the canvas. What a turn of events in the final minute of round number 4. These fighters promise fireworks, and we're seeing it all in the last minute of round number 4. Chapman goes right back at FALOWO. 27 seconds to go. For the first time in his career, Thomas FALOWO hits the canvas.
He's definitely hurt, Pat. He's a little bit wobbly. He's got to survive these final 20 seconds. You see him backpedaling, just trying to stay away from Chapman. Easier said than done. He's got to stay off the ropes if he wants to survive. Now he starts fighting back.
Fans certainly getting their money's worth in this fight. Final seconds to go in round number 4. And Mike, we are only halfway through this 8-round fight. If the next 4 rounds are any indication of the first 4 rounds, these fans may not sit down until the fight's over.
Just beautiful job. All the fucking jab after you dropped him. You didn't look here, and you got fucking caught. You went exactly what we didn't want you to do. What we've been talking about for the fucking last 3 weeks with this kid. You cannot walk this kid down without a jab. And you walked him down without a jab. And you gotta use the jab and walk him down, and then work behind him. Fucking fight's close. Fight's real close.
They hear it. Peter Sr. is saying the fight's very close, and he's right.
That was a good job censoring yourself when you were paraphrasing what Peter Sr. said. But I tell you what, nobody can pump up their fighters like Peter does when he's yelling in your face like that. We've seen it time and time again. Fighters have come back on the scorecards, and right now we're going to see the replay.
Wow.
See Chris Chapman really stumbled him there, and then Thomas just looked like his legs just gave out and fell into the ropes.
That's no flash knockdown, Pat. He was hurt. He got hit in the temple. He kind of smiled to maybe shake it off and maybe show Chapman he wasn't hurt, but he obviously was. Backpedaling in the ropes kind of looked like Tommy Hearns against Marvin Hagler many years ago, if you remember.
That certainly wasn't a knockdown where he just lost his balance. That was his legs were just completely wiped out from underneath him. Uncharted territory for Thomas FALOWO. Never been knocked down in 11 pro fights. This is 12. He's fighting from unfamiliar territory.
It'll be interesting to see how the judges score that. They can use their discretion. The Chapman knockdown was somewhat suspect. Their feet got tangled. He caught him on the way down. The Chapman knockdown on FALOWO was a legit knockdown. He may still get the round by benefit of the scorecard, not necessarily an even round at all.
Fans again all on their feet for Thomas the Soldier FALOWO. Chris last chapter Chapman. Great first 4 rounds and continuing the action here in the 5th. And again, Mike, you can't stress enough. Thomas never has been past the 6th round. This is his first 8-round fight. Chapman has, but he hasn't fought since last March. So will the ring rust play a factor? Will Thomas's endurance never fighting an actual fight? You can spar 20 rounds in the gym. That's different than when you're in here under the bright lights, having rested all day for the fight. Now when they're getting punched without headgear, with the right size gloves. We'll see who has the stamina here as the rounds continue to go on.
It's true. Conditioning's one thing, but like you said, stamina is totally different. having been walked down by Chris Chapman through 4 rounds, it may be a different story if they can get to the 6th and the 7th. We'll see how FALOWO responds. But Peter Manfredo Sr. in between rounds made a good point. If you want to walk this guy down, you got to use the jab, and we really haven't seen it yet from FALOWO. He still hasn't been flipping that jab as much as he needs to. I think Chapman might have got hurt there.
Minute to go. Round number 5. See Chapman trying to control the center of the ring, now trying to control the pace of this fight. He said he was going to do it, Mike. He didn't do it from the first couple rounds. Now he seems to be controlling the pace.
Referee telling him to get those shots up. That was a little bit low, just below the waistline. One thing Chapman does so well is circle his opponent and just hit from different angles, Pat. He's not just coming straight on. He's circling, throwing those wide hooks. It's not necessarily good to throw those wide punches, but if you're fighting them, if you're throwing them at different angles, it can be beneficial.
30 seconds to go in round number 5. Thomas threw a wide hook right there. It almost turned around. Final 20 seconds to go. You hear the fans on their feet. They're excited for the final seconds.
These rounds are so close, you can steal them in these final 10 if you put together enough of a flurry.
End of round number 5. And at this point, Mike, 3 rounds to go. It's still a pick'em fight.
It really is.
Neither corner can go back and tell their fighter that right now they're up in the scorecards and they just have to win one of the next 3 rounds or just coach the next 3 rounds. They're telling their fighters they have to win these next 3 rounds.
No, neither fighter can afford to take that mentality into the final 3 rounds and assume they have any sort of lead on the scorecard. These rounds are always tough to score, and they've been very close throughout. And again, like we said, the final 15, 20 seconds of these next 3 rounds are going to be huge, where they have opportunities to possibly steal them if they're close enough in the end.
Secret recipe for more than 200 years. The world's #1 Kentucky bourbon is an American bourbon. Discover Jim Beam today.
Doing good, Toro. Doing damn good.
Falling into it.
Remember I said, step this way with the hook. Step to the right with the left hook and throw the left. All right, step to the left.
Round 6, schedule 8. Chapman in the black and red trunks. FALOWO in the black and white trunks.
We got a bit of a disturbance outside the ring, Pat, and there are officials on the ring apron while the fighters are out here fighting.
Shame, there's a tremendous fight going on in the ring, and it's always a shame when something like this outside the ring affects that.
Apparently there's one going on outside the ring as well.
Another great start to this round, Mike. You see Chapman, his corner was telling him with that left hook, you got to swing it and then step to your left, and he's been doing that pretty beautifully right now. He's doing it almost to a T.
Yeah, he really has done it well, especially the last couple of rounds. And again, I'm sure Peter Manfredo Sr. made a point of it in the corner to say, keep working that jab. You have to establish the jab. That's the only way he's going to keep Chapman off him.
Minute 40 to go in round number 6. This is just an incredible pace, Mike. And just when you think these fighters may be getting tired, they're finding that second energy.
That's a slip. Feet got tangled up. Hard not to, Pat, when these guys are on top of each other for these first 5.5 rounds. So close, fighting on the inside, neither fighter backing down. Those things do tend to happen.
One thing that Chapman's done very well is he's been able to take Thomas's height advantage and make it almost equal. He hasn't been staying outside and letting Thomas keep him at a distance because he's got extra leverage on him or extra height on him. He's done a great job of getting him inside. And when he's punching, he's coming forward and he's moving to the sides enough where he's able to actually counter Thomas's height.
Though Thomas had a nice combination just a few seconds ago, I think it really stopped Chapman in his tracks. That could be the kind of thing that turns the fight around. If you give a fighter a reason to not keep doing what he's doing, you can possibly swing the momentum. And again, Pat, we're down to those crucial final 25 seconds of round number 6. If that Russell Lamore fight taught you anything, those final seconds count. He dropped Joe Gardner 3 times in the closing seconds of the respective rounds.
And how about this fight in the second round? Thomas was dropped in the last 10 seconds of the round. And I am really impressed with Chatman's stamina up to this point. You know, we kind of knew that Thomas had this because we've known Thomas for a while. We've broadcasted every single one of his fights. We knew that Thomas had the stamina to go 6 rounds easily when he was in the 6th round. We knew that he could get up to an 8-round fight, but we didn't know if he could face a guy like this in your first 8-round fight, to throw this many punches. It's one thing to go in an 8-round fight and face a guy where you're controlling the entire pace, you're throwing 100 punches, they're throwing 30. When you're facing a guy that's throwing as many punches, this isn't an intense pace to work out for 8 rounds.
Well, this is the reality of boxing. As fighters step up in their careers, Pat, and they step up in the number of rounds, they step up the level of competition as well. You're not going to find too many mediocre fighters who can go 8-10 rounds. Chances are, if you're mediocre, you're getting out of there much, much earlier than that. Chris Chatman is not a mediocre fighter. He's the kind of guy that can go the distance. He has been stopped at times in his career, but many times, more often than not, he is going to go the full 8 or 10, whatever it's scheduled for, and you have to be able to walk down a guy like that and establish your jab in the process. And we'll see if Thomas can do that over these final 2 rounds. It's going to be a real good finish, Pat, one way or another.
Round 7 of a scheduled 8. Thomas the Soldier Fallowo in his hometown, his home arena, Twin River Event Center. Facing the toughest task of his career. He's been knocked down for the first time in his career. And you hear the fans really, really excited by this fight. I mean, you really can't sit down for a second with the action and the pace these guys have been going. Thomas with a nice uppercut, and Chatman counters again with a nice uppercut. Here we go, Mike. This could be a turning point in this fight, one way or another. Chatman with his back against his ropes. Fallowo continues to punch, and now Chatman turns the tables, gets Fallowo up against the ropes.
It seems like just when you think there is going to be a change of momentum, the other fighter comes back and takes it and stops it and turns it back into his favor. There's been a lot of that in these 2 fights. Case in point, the 2 exchanging knockdowns in round number 4.
Minute 50 to go here in round number 7. Still a very close fight, Mike. I tell you, I like my job right now, broadcasting the fight, because I wouldn't want to be on one of those stools right now, scoring it.
I want no part in trying to score this fight. There has been no major momentum swing in one direction or the other. No one's really had control of the fight for more than maybe 30, 45 seconds. It's been so back and forth. It's exactly what we expected. Good luck to these judges trying to score this one if it goes 8 rounds.
Minute 10 to go. I tell you, Mike, you really spoiled these fans with this fight card. Great undercard followed by this co-feature. And then to top it all off, we have a title fight coming up between Vladimir Biasi, the champion, and Rich Gingras, the challenger. But right now, I don't think a single fan in the building is thinking past this fight, let alone this round. 45 seconds to go. Chris Chatman, Thomas Fallowo, everyone on their feet cheering for 2 tremendous athletes, literally leaving it all in the ring right now.
This has been awesome. This is why you come to the arena, to see 2 fighters, like you said, leave it all in the ring. Fallowo and Chatman continuing to exchange. I thought the pace would slow down. I was wrong. They're going stronger than ever. Big shot by Thomas there, Pat. He stuns Chatman a bit, and he still has 19 seconds.
Final 10 seconds to go.
Every time one fighter gets hit, the challenger responds with an equally damaging blow. What a fight.
End of the round. We are headed to the 8th and final round between Thomas the Soldier Fallowo and Chris Last Chapter Chatman. What a fight so far. Incredibly tough fight to score. And we were saying the other day when we were previewing the fight, this fight probably won't go the distance. I'll tell you what, Mike, there's no quit in either one of these fighters. Of course it's going to go in the 8th round.
I'm very surprised we've gotten this far with the pace they established in rounds 1 and 2. And when you saw the way they were exchanging, the way they were landing, and at times not defending each other, you figured this one would get stopped at some point, but these two have stood up to the test. They've both been knocked down. They've both gotten back up. There's been so many ebbs and flows in this fight. It's tremendous that the fact that they just got this far is a victory in and of itself. But right now, we have 1 more round to go, 3 more minutes until somebody gets crowned winner.
And I'll tell you what's special for these fighters when they go back and they look at this tape. You're going to see fighters that fought for world titles like Peter Manfredo Jr., Edwin Rodriguez, Hank Lundy, one of the top fighters in the world, on their feet cheering for this fight. And they're not cheering for one fight or another. They're cheering for the sport right now and the excitement. This 8th round is going to be fireworks, Mike.
And you can see why Chris Chapman has won fans in Rhode Island. He comes there, puts on a show, and fights his heart out every single time. No doubt he'll be back here again at some point.
2.5 minutes of all-out action. Hopefully CompuBox is working here. See if we can break some records in 8-round fights.
This may break that Ray Oliveira record. Those old school CompuBox records that Super Ray broke many years ago on ESPN. These two have not stopped throwing at any point in the fight. And we still have a main event to go. Chapman slipping, essentially just slipped throwing a punch. That's not a knockdown.
Awkward slip too. He fell on his back throwing a punch. And then right back at it. 2 minutes to go.
Crowd on its feet here. They're loving every minute of it. It's been tremendous. Nobody backing down. Neither fighter backing down. Chapman walks into a big left by FALOWO, keeps coming forward as he's done the whole fight, and vice versa.
Yeah, both fighters are certainly going to be tired tomorrow.
I'm tired watching this.
Chris Chapman is going to remember this birthday for sure. Minute and change to go. Thomas the Soldier FALOWO, 10-1 from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. 4 fights in a row won by the Soldier.
Not sure what Chapman was looking for there, Pat. He dropped his hands, and now he gets caught against the ropes. A big left and right by FALOWO. But I'll tell you what, technique's out the window at this point. Final minute.
Combined 13 knockouts between these two fighters. Only 3 losses, only one of those by knockout. Great matchup between FALOWO and Chapman. Living up to the hype for sure. Under 30 seconds to go. Can either fighter land that punch? I'm sure the judges at this point would appreciate it.
I'm sure the judges would love a knockout. That would bail them out from having to score this one. Final 10 seconds, Pat. They're going to leave it all out here.
Thomas might see an opening. Chapman's going to hit by back-to-back uppercuts. Gets back up against the ropes. Can Thomas get a 10-8 round here? He continues to punch against Chapman on the ropes. And there it is, 8 rounds in the books.
Wow.
Standing ovation by this crowd. This is a tough fight.
Peter Manfredo came on and said, that's how you finish. If that round was as close as we thought, FALOWO stole it in the last 15 seconds. That could be huge because we don't know what these cards look like.
He certainly did. That last 10 seconds with those back-to-back uppercuts. It looked like that first one could have knocked Chapman out. The second one might have woke him up.
It definitely woke him up a little bit. And I'll tell you what, if Thomas maybe had another 45 seconds, he might have gotten a stoppage, Pat. He had him hurt in days. If anything, Chapman saved by the bell in that 8th and final round. What a tremendous fight. Very interesting to see what the scorecards were going to say in this one.
And you see promoter and president of Classic Entertainment and Sports, Jimmy Birchfield Sr. in the center of the ring, acknowledging to the fans on how appreciative he was of that bout. What a fight. Yeah, Mike, these are the fights that are good for boxing. You get 2 fighters, combined record of 23-1, and they go out there and they leave it all in the ring like that. A fight neither guy had to take, but Thomas, knowing going from a 6 to an 8, you have to step up in competition. And boy, did he. He goes from Tylon Burris, who certainly was 4-0, a tough fighter, that Thomas just broke down from the first punch to the last. And then he goes in there against a fighter like Chris Chapman and looked really good. He took a lot of punches, and what I was impressed with most, every time I see Thomas, he dominates the fight from beginning to end. This fight, he wasn't able to dominate the entire fight. He had a lot of different challenges. Yeah, he was knocked down. He knocked down Chris Chapman, then he got knocked down. So there was a lot of different moments in this fight where Thomas had to experience first. And now we're ready in the center of the ring with the official decision. Let's hear it from Bill Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 8 rounds of non-stop, toe-to-toe action, let's go to the judges' scorecards. All 3 judges, Lima, Feldman, and Paolino, score the bout identically, 77 to 75. For your winner by a unanimous decision, Chris, last chapter, Chapman.
Wow.
There you have it, folks. Chris, last chapter, Chapman. He took over a year off, came back in here on short notice, and defeats Thomas FALOWO for only the 2nd time in his career. Thomas now 10-2 as a professional. What a job by Chris Chapman tonight. Came in here on short notice, handled his business, did what he had to do.
I won the first 5 rounds.
And you hear him there saying he won the first 5 rounds. He might have, because Thomas finished those last 2 rounds pretty well.
I do think FALOWO finished the fight stronger, not just the 8th round, but really the 6th and in some ways the 7th round. Again, it was a tough fight to score, Pat. It really was, but very surprising to see it unanimously across the board that way.
Congratulations to Chris Chapman, improves to 11-2-1 in his career. Thomas FALOWO drops to 10-2, but really no losers in this fight.